Hi guys, Squirrel here and welcome to another Microsoft Flight Simulator video. In this one, we're going to do an FS economy flight and we're going to fly the TBM 930. I'm going to show you how you can plan the flight using free online tools. There are many ways of doing this and I'm not going to go into a lot of depth about it, but I will just show you some basic tricks to help get you started. So first of all, let's have a look at the actual FS economy flight that I've got lined up. Here we are, we're flying it for Air Squirrel, which is my FS economy group. And I've lined up a basically a leg going there and coming back with passengers. So I can get the plane there and back and it'll pay both ways. So what I've got is I've got 4 passengers here. And they are currently waiting at Kilo Oscar November Tango. And they want to go to Kilo November Kilo X-Ray. Kilo Oscar November Tango is Ontario International Airport down in Ontario in California. And I'm using airnav.com, which allows you to just look up any aircraft code. So if you go to airports at the top here, put in the ICAO name, click on get information, and it will give you, well, lots of information completely for free. Location, the elevation of the airfield, it'll tell you the runways, it'll tell you down here they are 8 left, 26 right, etc. Right, 26 left. All the information you need. And then over here, usefully as well, you also get the current METAR if it has a weather station there, which it does. As you can see, variable wind at 3 knots, 6 square miles of visibility, few clouds. Temperature 22 Celsius, dew point 14, altimeter 2988. So you can get, you can get lots of information just for free, just with AirNav. Same thing at the destination, which is Kilo November Kilo X-Ray. That's Miramar in San Diego, California. So this is about 75 nautical miles south of Ontario Airfield, which means we've got a fairly short flight. But I want to talk through how, how I can quickly plan this flight. I could, of course, just load into Microsoft Flight Sim and fly direct. There's nothing to stop you doing that. You can literally just click on World Map. You can click on, Oscar November Tango. You can say, I want to go to Kilo November Kilo X-Ray, which is Miramar. Do that. Click the TBM, click load. GPS will just take you from A to B. But as you're probably starting to realize, there's a lot more to it than that. Like, how do we actually position ourselves for the runway? Which runway do we go for? When do we start to descend? How do we route ourselves in? If there's a lot of cloud, we need to go instrument. We can't just visual fly it, right? So these are all the things that we're going to tackle today. We're going to try and build a quick route, but I'm only going to use free online tools, and then we'll jump in and we'll make the flights. And in the next video, I should be able to do the flight back again so we can do the reverse. And you'll find that, as you fly from airfield to airfield, they will differ significantly in terms of how you approach them and how you land. And that's part of the fun of aviation, really. So let's jump over to the websites and get started. So the 2 websites that I'm going to show you are completely free. You can sign up for a free account, but they're incredibly useful websites. Are going to be SimBrief and SkyVector. So let's start off by looking at SimBrief. SimBrief is a website that generates a flight plan using, well, pretty much real-world kind of data and real-world flight plan generation. So it's very authentic. But we'll just keep it simple. So what we'll do is we'll put our departure in here, which is Oscar November Tango. We'll put our arrival in here, which is November Kilo X-Ray. It automatically picks an alternate for us, which we don't need. I'm going to change the units to pounds instead of kilos, just because Microsoft Flight Sim is currently heavily tilted towards pounds. Personally, I prefer to work in kilos, but that's a different story. Airframe, we need to pick the aircraft for flying. Obviously, you've got your Boeings, your Airbuses, anything and everything's in here. But what we're looking for is a TBM 930. They don't have a 930 at the moment, so the nearest thing is a 900. It'll do. So working further down, we need to select a couple of things here, but it will default for us. Registration number, if you happen to know the registration number of the plane that you're flying, you can put it in there. It'll go on the report, that kind of thing. It automatically works out descent profiles and climb profiles based on the airframe that you chose. This is the important bit, if you like. Now, how do you decide which runways you're taking off and departing to and from? Generally speaking, what SimBrief will do is it'll look up the current weather down there and it'll figure out which runway it thinks you're going to go from, based on the winds and that kind of thing. But, you can override it. Like if you don't want to go out 26 right, which is a longer runway, you could go out 26 left, which is a bit short. So just change it and it's fine with that. So you set your departure and arrival runway. This is where you would set your taxi out and in times, and it uses that for fuel calculation purposes. This is where if you want to, you can take some extra fuel. If you're flying live ATC and you think the place is going to be busy, you might be put into a hold, all that kind of stuff. That's where you can punch it into here. We'll ignore the rest of that for now. We'll scroll down to our routing. Now, it's figured out, well, it's suggesting some routes down here, look. Well, the most basic one it's suggesting is just direct to JLI. JLI, if you hover over it, is a VOR station. So it's saying, oh, we're just going to fly direct to JLI. Another one would be, say, that one. That would go in via the Paradise. I think it's the Paradise VOR, that one. Yeah, there's a Paradise VOR. Then down the V186 way to Robin. Robin is a waypoint down here, so that's another one. That's a crazy one. There's various ways in, so how the heck do we figure out which way we might want to fly? Well, before we do any more with this, let's go to Sky Vector. And Sky Vector, I'm logged in, so you need an account if you want to create a flight plan. Just click on Flight Plan, put in the departure here. Same thing, KONT-KNKX, Mirimar, there we go. So we can see now the actual charts. This is a world VFR chart. You can change it to en route high and low airways if you want to. Perfectly fine. But the VFR chart does show you some information that is actually quite useful. Some of them are these numbers here, which are elevations, like minimum flight altitudes, if you like. There's a lot of hills here. So 69, you just literally put 2 zeros on the end. 6,900. So about 7,000 feet is where you want to be. If you go less than 7,000 feet, you're risking hitting something, basically. So this is one thing. If you're just trying to customize your flight plans, you can pay attention just to the basic elevations. Don't worry about all these different marks. They're all airspaces. So you can see from here the most direct route. And if you want to, like if you specifically want to go via something, for example, this blue ring here is in fact the JLI VOR. Well, you could just pick hold of that line and drag it over there like that. And say, oops, drag it over there like that. And then say Julian JLI plan. And it will add it to your flight plan. So it will now generate a flight plan that routes you in that direction. So, Sky Vector is also incredibly useful. But the real reason Sky Vector is incredibly useful is this. You guys were saying, oh, how do you get charts for airports? Because I noticed you use Navigraph. Well, yes, you can use Navigraph, but if you hover and click on this, and then hover over Miramar, there's a whole load of free diagrams available in Sky Vector, which is fantastic. So, for example, we could decide to look at the ILS 24 right. We could shoot that, and we can see straight away from that chart that what it's doing is it's coming in via this JLI Julian VOR. So it starts the procedure here on a bearing of 212 and then picks up the ILS for 24 right. And then it has the ILS information on it, etc., etc. We won't do that one today. What we'll do is we'll do the RNAV approach. So if we click on RNAV for 24 right, you can see an RNAV is basically a GPS approach. It's a series of waypoints that vector you in, and then it also gives you vertical guidance. But this is something that you have to fly yourself. It's not like an ILS. With an ILS, it'll, the autopilot will look at the ILS, capture the ILS glide slope, and fly you down. With this, you either have to put in the waypoint altitude yourself, or literally hand fly it vertically downwards at the right rate, which is normally about 3 degrees. So we're going to do this one because this is going to illustrate a few things. I hope hope you're paying attention at the back. I realize this is a lot of information, but this isn't strictly a tutorial. This is just showing you how to do things. You can do it as simple or as complicated as you want to. So what I want to do is I want to basically fly this. So with that in mind, we'll go back to SimBrief, and we will take that JLI. We'll just fly directly there. But maybe there's also a way out of, let's close that, there's a way out of Ontario. Maybe there's like a departure we could use. So if we click on Ontario, come on, there we go. So Ontario has, let's see, these are instrument approaches. There's an airport diagram if you want to look at the airport diagram. And then there's some departure procedures. And if we click on the first one, Nickel is a departure that goes to the south. And the reason I know it goes to the south is because it uses the Paradise VOR. And the Paradise VOR is basically here. It's a complicated chart, but you can see Paradise written there. And then there's the symbol with the circle around it. So it's going to route us in this direction. So if we have a look at this chart, it essentially takes off and loops you back this way to the south, to the Paradise VOR, and takes you straight down. So what we could do is in Microsoft Flight Sim, we could take the Nickel 1 departure. We can try and load this procedure into the aircraft. Now, we can either do it from here, right? Or we can do it in the plane itself. If we choose high altitude airways, for example, and then we look at the runway 26 right, and it's automatically selected the Nickel 1 departure, funnily enough. So if you click on that, you can literally see what it's doing with that procedure. There is the Paradise VOR. It's going to take us out on that departure. And then on the arrival, you could even start to look at RNAV 24. And hey, look, it's basically vectoring us in via the JLI. So this hopefully gives you an insight into what the heck all these different things mean and why they are doing what they're doing. Essentially, they're just routes. They're ways in and out of an airport. That's what they are. You have a SID, which is a standard instrument departure. These are SIDs, and there are departures out of the airfield, and then, you know, back at your arrival, there are stars, which are the arrival into the airfield. And they're just ways of making sure that aircraft come in and out of the airfield in a very controlled fashion. That's all they are. They're a little bit intimidating at first, but hopefully, you know, you can get past that and see how this thing works. So what I want to do is I want to do this manually. I don't want to use the load procedure in Microsoft Flight Sim. What we'll do is we've got that plugged in. We'll put in, actually, will it generate it for us? We could probably get it to Open Route Finder, find stars. No, it's not. All right, so we'll just put PDX in there. Click Analyze. PDX is not found. Okay, that's a bit strange. Is it PDX or PDZ? I think it's PDZ. PDZ, my bad. PDZ, we'll put that in there. Analyze route. And you can see it's now going to take us via Paradise and then down to JLI. So we could load it this way. What I'm going to do instead is let's get ourselves somewhere near 26 right so we don't have a big taxi. So about ramp 40 something or other. Ramp J45, that'll do. Departure, we'll ignore all that for now. We'll just go direct. Actually, what we'll do is, so that it absolutely won't do anything, so it won't try to load. Wait, we don't want a large thing. So that it won't try to load anything into the aircraft, which I would deem to be, you know, cheating, because it were. Can we go for GA small, maybe? GA 64. Oh, crikey, no. I want to be over here so we can just depart. We don't want to go out of the gate. GLI. Oh, we'll just go there. That's fine. And we'll clear that down as well. So we've got San Diego, 24 right. And at the moment, what it'll load into the GPS in the plane is a direct VFR route. And we're going to throw that away and rebuild it using this information we have here. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to click on Generate OFP. That'll generate the flight plan. And by the way, you can take the flight plan from this and load it. If you download it there, you can take this flight plan and load it straight into Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is kind of cool. They even have a download tool that will automatically pull it down for you. But we're going to click on Preview. And this is going to give you the flight plan in basically the same format that actual pilots get it. Again, it's a bit intimidating at first, but there's a couple of key things we can pick up on. One of them is this, the block fuel. That's 846 pounds of fuel. So even rounding up, if you loaded 1,000 pounds of fuel into the plane, you'll have enough fuel to make this journey. So that's one useful thing. The second thing is here, it has got the departure, the runway, then direct to Paradise, direct to JLI, then direct to the runway 24, right? So that's the other thing. And scroll right to the bottom. And this is the really useful thing, is it has a vertical profile for us. So what it's done is it's decided on an altitude, which looks like 19,000 feet. And then there's a top of descent there, which is before JLI. And if you actually come back to page 3, this is your routing here. And you can see FL is the flight level. So we're cruising at flight level 190, which is 19,000 feet. And then by Julian here, we need to be down at 14, flight level 141, which is 14,000 feet. But I'll show you how to work that back out in a minute when we look at the chart that we looked at, the RNAV approach here, because this actually has altitudes that we need to hit on the way in. So we'll talk through that now. We'll jump in the plane and we'll start the GPS system and we'll punch this in. It'll make a lot more sense. Okay, so I spawned in at Ontario in the TBM. I've started it up. I've got the engine running so the batteries don't go flat. Don't worry about all the wasted fuel. It's only a sim. So what we want to do is we want to basically punch in the route into the sat-nav system. One of the things we want to do initially is we want to have the Nickel 1 departure programmed in. The Nickel 1 departure, if you look at the procedure, will take us through the Paradise VOR. It'll take us out to Seppi, this waypoint here, and then it will route south towards Mission Bay. You could leave this in as it is, but after Mission Bay, you're going to be heading off back down in this direction because Mission Bay is like round here somewhere. You're going to be coming out south and then you're going to be going off again. So you could leave it like that, but I'll probably just delete the Mission Bay waypoint and we'll go out of Seppi and go direct to JLI. That'll just be a bit cleaner. So if we go down to the Garmin screens here and click on MFD, which is this screen here, the multifunction display, click on MFD, and then in the middle is flight plan. And what you should see is a direct flight plan from Ontario to Mirimar. If it's added any other waypoints in here, then just get rid of them by clicking on, sorry, not clicking on, by flight plan, one second, flight plan, add origin, KONT, enter, add destination, KNKX, Mirimar. There you go. And that gives you a direct plan from Ontario to Mirimar. Should say 75 nautical miles. That will clean out any flight plan that you had before. So if you start making a mess of things, just do it again. Just click on here, put your departure, put your arrival, and it'll have a nice blank flight plan. So next thing we want to do is try and do the routes. To do the actual transition, so the departure out of here, we'll click on MFD again and then go to procedures, which is this one. And then we want the departure procedure. And it has already, interestingly, worked out some stuff. It's already assumed 26 right. Maybe it got that. Actually, I don't know where it got that from. Maybe it's just won the lottery. 26 right. And then the departure is Nickel 1. Remember, these go off in different directions. Nickel 1 is the southern departure. And the transition, that's Mission Bay. I'm not sure which one that is. We'll leave Mission Bay transition in there. That's fine. TRM may go in a different direction. I'm not sure which way TRM goes, actually. This is going to take us towards Mission Bay. Did it have a different one here? Let's see. Nickel 1 departure. No, it doesn't. The Navigraph would probably give us a bit more clarity on this, but that's fine. We'll just go with that. So we may delete the Mission Bay thing. We'll click on load at the bottom. In fact, just before you do that, you can actually see the waypoints here. Look, Nickel, Jumper, Seppi, MZB, and they are literally the waypoints on this plan here. So that's what they are. So when you load them, it will load this sequence in as the departure procedure. So click load, and then we'll go back to MFD. And by the way, you don't click this, you click this button. Click flight plan, and now you see it's loaded the procedure. It's got going out to Paradise. You scroll down, Nickel, Jumper, Seppi, Mission Bay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove Mission Bay. So I'll click on it, then click remove waypoint, and that's now gone. So our last waypoint is now Seppi, which is this one, which is this waypoint here. So what we're going to do now is we want to look at our arrival, which we decided, get rid of that, we decided our arrival would be the RNAV approach. Click on this and then hover RNAV 24 right. We're going to go in for the RNAV 24 right, and the actual procedure, I think, begins at Simbi. So what it'll probably do is it'll probably load the procedure from Simbi, since that's on the descent chart. It may not load WATOX and JLI. We may have to add these two, and we'll need to work out what altitudes we need to be at. So let's just load that procedure first. So go back to MFD, click on procedure, and then you want the approach, and you want to make sure it's on RNAV 24 right, transition none, and then we can see the waypoints here. Look, so it does start at Simbi. Simbi, Yorka, Sinus, Fosseb. So it's going to go from Simbi here, but it will bring in these altitudes for us. You'll see that now. If you click on load, and then go back to the MFD, click flight plan, and if we scroll down now, if I just grab hold of this little pixel vertical bar, you can see it says approach 24 right, starts at Simbi, and it has the altitudes from the chart: 2400, 3200, 2600. It has the descent profile already programmed in. The only thing it doesn't have right now, we've got the departure, we've got the arrival. The only thing it doesn't have is Julian and WATOX, but we can add those ourselves. So what we can do is go add en route waypoint, and we can go JLI, enter, and hopefully it's put it in the right place. Can we scroll this thing? There we go. Scroll that, and I don't know where it's just added it. It seems to have disappeared. JLI is gone. Try it again. JLI. Duplicates found. Okay. So it thinks it's added it. So right now I don't know where it's put it. Let me try WATOX then. TOX. Enter. So WATOX is not in there. JLI is not in there. I don't see them, do you? Okay, so for some reason, did I have to click done first, maybe? Approach, destination. All right, well let's try clicking on Seppi then, and saying insert after JLI, enter. Well, even that's not working. Okay, this thing is officially crazy. That should work fine. I don't know why that's not working. We should be able to add an en route waypoint using this technique. Seppi, insert after, WATOX, enter. Oh no, what? Okay, let's put that down to a bug. So, unfortunately, they're now the wrong way around. WATOX should be after JLI. I don't know what this thing is doing. Let's click on remove that one, and we'll click on WATOX and go insert before JLI, and hopefully... Oh my god. Where does it put it now? In fact, the whole thing's just disappeared. Like, the whole en route list is now gone. This thing is buggy, man. Flight plan. SEPI. I don't know. Okay, let's try insert after WATOX. Does it appear? Well, the en route section's back, so that's a good start. WATOX and JLI. It's still the wrong way around. Okay, let's get rid of WATOX. Let's go insert after. It seems to like WATOX a lot more than it likes JLI for some reason. There we go. I have no idea what the heck this thing is doing. Anyway, sorry about that. So after SEPI, which was up here at the end of our departure, we're going to JLI, then we're going to go to WATOX, and then we go to Simba. But, as I just mentioned, we don't have vertical altitude set for... This thing is so fiddly. We don't have vertical altitude set for WATOX, but we can work it out, because if you look at this chart, it said from Julian descend down to 6800 at WATOX, so we'll put that in. So at WATOX we'll put 6800, and before it is JLI. Well, JLI can't be lower than this one, so what should it be? Well, this is 10 nautical miles from JLI, and just using a general rule of thumb, we can descend about 2,000 feet easily in 10 miles. So we'll click that and we'll put that on 8,800. So that will give us a 2,000 foot descent. So by JLI, we need to get to 8,800 feet. That's where we need to be. At the point where we descend, we'll need to work out en route how far we are from JLI. We're going to be flying at 19,000 feet. So we'll need to descend almost 10,000 feet before we get to JLI. But we'll go through that when we're in flight. That took a bit longer than it should have done because there's clearly some bug with this thing. But that's the MFD program. We've now got a complete flight plan programmed in. So now what we'll do is we'll do a couple of other things. We'll click on Speedbug. We'll activate the V approach, VY, and VR. So this is our rotate speed, 90 knots. We can adjust it, but we'll leave it. 90 knots, we basically pull back on the stick and rotate, as it's called. And our VY is our best climb, so we want to be climbing at about 110 knots. This is our approach speed, our final approach speed to the runway, 85, and this should put markers on the speed tape up here. That's what it should do. Down here is the range key, so you can use this to zoom in and out, and as you can see, this looks exactly what we were trying to do. SEPI. So remember, the mission bay was down here, so it would have taken us that way, then back out again, which is silly. So this, because it's only a short flight, this makes the most sense. So that should set us up for a nice flight in. And if you zoom right in, it will even show you where you are. This is quite handy for taxiing around. It'll show you where you are here. There's many other little functions that you can do. If you go back to PFD, for example, we need to put PFD. It's currently on nav1, as you can see in green. You can change this by either clicking on this button here, or you can click on this button here. They both do the same thing, but you need to be on FMS so that you're following the GPS, because we're going to a GPS route is what we're going to go for. Now press the B key, that will give us our local pressure, and already that's changed, because when we was looking at the live weather on AirNav for Ontario, let's just refresh the page and see what it says now. It says variable 4 knots. It says altimeter's 2987, and this is saying 79. So Microsoft Flight Sim is not agreeing with the live weather right now exactly. It's off for some reason. Maybe it's delayed, I don't know. But it's probably better to use the one that's in the sim, since that's the one that's going to affect us. Final thing we need to do is we need to punch up the altitude that we want. And we said we're going to basically cruise at about 19,000 feet. 19,000 feet is 1,000 foot above America's transition altitude, which is 18,000. So what should happen at 18,000 is you should go push that to go to standard pressure. However, you can see that doesn't work. But standard pressure is 29902. So you'd punch that in when you're at 19,000. So what else have we got? We need to put the nav mode. Flight director goes on. We're going to be in V-speed mode. We're going to climb out. Well, our climb profile will be 100 110 knots best climb, but we'll see. We'll go 1200 feet climb and see how it goes. So we don't activate the yaw damper or the approach when we're on the ground, and the inertial separator should be on when you're on the ground because that will stop the engine sucking up rubbish. But after you take off, you should turn off the inertial separator, and that means the engine will get better airflow and better performance. That is more or less what we need to do for this. So what I'll do now is I'll go down to the runway, we'll get lined up, and we'll go for a takeoff. Okay, as you can see, I am holding at 26 right, and there's a few things we need to do before we enter the runway, but the most important thing is we need to remember to start our flight in FS economy. So we'll start flight, and I'll click on flight, and there you go. The clock is ticking, the meter's running, and we've got our passengers on board. So that will have edited our payload, and it will have set the fuel in the plane to be the fuel that's in the plane in FS economy, and it will also have set the tail number to the FS economy plane, November 1610 Quebec, and the livery is from the livery pack that I already showed you in my Airbus livery video, in case you're wondering where I got the livery from. By the way, FS economy are currently inundated with applications, so they've frozen applications for now, so if you haven't got an account already, you might have to wait a few days before you get one. Just a word of warning. So, let's see, we want landing lights are going to come on now, some strobes are coming on. We will just briefly departure a second. Let's just zoom out this thing. 50. Okay, that's a really weird departure. Seems to think we're coming out of that waypoint, but we're not. Unless it loaded. Did it load the wrong one? I don't know. Okay, let's not worry about it. I don't know if it's being a bit weird or not. So parking brakes off. You see it's enunciating, the inertial separator is still on. That's fine. So we're going to do a climb in left turn out of 26 right, and then we'll engage autopilot because we've set it up already, but we'll check that before we do it. Approach looks completely clear. And takeoff flaps on, make sure our trim is set. On the TBM, it shows you the takeoff and trim here, so just make sure it's in the green arc before you take off. Oops, not paying attention. Let's get back on center line. Spool the engine and thrust power. Very long runway, 26 right. We'll have no problem getting out of here. So just push forward on the stick until you've got your 80 knots. There you can see there. It's got the little markers on it. Rotate 90. Let's go. And you see it's enunciated our best climb at 110. So we'll gear up. And if you look at the flight director, it's got like the pink line in the middle there, the pink arrows. You're more or less aiming for that. The flaps are coming up. Just retrim. So the flight director is actually not following our best climb, which is 110 knots, interestingly. Okay, we've passed the runway now, so we will begin our left turn. And at this point, we can turn off the inertial separator, just improve the airflow to the engine. That's the middle marker noise, don't worry about that. And I'll also like to click MFD, zoom out, so we can just see that we're capturing that leg. So if we wanted to go to autopilot now, we could basically engage heading mode, just to make life easier on ourselves. I'm also going to engage half bank mode because it will just half the roll rate. It can be a bit aggressive, so Click on synchronize, turn to the left slightly, just following that blue button there. Check the V speed is good, we'll put the yaw damper on and we'll put AP on. So now it pitches nose down and starts to accelerate a little bit, so what I'll do is I'll increase our vertical climb speed, which will bring our airspeed down a little bit, and hopefully we'll get a better climb rate out of it. It should be able to climb. We've only got a few people on, this thing will go up like a rocket if it wanted to. Should have engaged heading mode, shouldn't I? My bad. Oh, we'll just put it on nav mode, it's fine. So nav mode, it looks like it's going to basically, it's flying an intercept to get the navigation line. Some good scenery down there. That's what it's doing. And this pink line here will come back as it approaches the line there, and then they'll all line up, it'll make a right turn, and then it'll follow the line. And we will carry on climbing to 19,000 feet. So that is pretty much all you need to do to get yourself out of Ontario. The plane will just climb now to our cruise altitude. And when we're up at cruise, what we'll need to do is basically work out when we should descend. When you're doing flights like this, the hardest bit is basically the descent. The descent and the approach is much harder than takeoff, as you've probably worked out. So we'll get ourselves up into cruise, and then we'll start looking at when we should begin our descent. But we'll just, you know, while you're flying, just monitor things and make sure everything's doing what you're expecting to do. At the moment, it's trying to find 19,000 feet at this climb rate. Like I say, you could, if you really wanted to, pitch the nose up and get a much greater rate of climb. And there is the Paradise VOR, so exactly like the departure said, straight into Paradise. I've got a feeling somewhere along the line that it switched runway on me, because it should, the pink line should be coming this way. It must have gone to 26 left, not 26 left, what is it, 08 left. It must have gone to 08 left at some point on me, instead of 26 right, and that's why the line's going that way. It should have gone that way. It must have snuck it in when I reset it and I didn't notice. Anyway, so I shall see you in cruise a bit later on, and we'll work out when we're going to descend. Right, welcome back. We're in cruise, 19,000 feet. We're not going to be here very long because we know it's not a particularly long journey at this speed. 75 nautical is nothing for this plane. So what we need to do is work out when to descend. We know that we want to be at JLI at 8,800 feet. Let's call that 9,000 feet for argument's sake, just to keep numbers simple. 9,000 feet. And we're currently at 19,000 feet. Which means we need to lose 10,000 feet in that space of time. 10,000 feet for a plane like this on a 3-degree glide slope. What you do is you take that difference, 10,000 feet, and you multiply it by 3, which gives you 30,000, and then you drop these zeros off the back and you end up with 30 nautical miles. So 10,000 feet times 3, 10 times 3 is 30 nautical miles is what we need before we start descending to get down to 8,800 feet approximately. It's a rule of thumb. You could start a little bit before just to give yourself a bit of a buffer. If you notice, JLI is 30 nautical miles away from the previous waypoint, which was Seppi. And Seppi is coming up right now. It's 3.6 nautical miles away. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to our target altitude, which is 8,800. And you can see JLI is 32 nautical miles away, so basically we have 30 nautical miles to get down there. We need to start descending, so we'll go V-speed, and we know that we had a descent profile of 2,000 feet for this plane. So set 2,000 feet, and then you basically have to throttle back so that you don't overspeed. So already we're starting to descend down towards JLI. But that is a rule of thumb. There are other variables involved, such as if you want to if you want to decrease speed as well, for every 10 knots that you want to decrease, you need to add a mile. So, if we wanted to go from, let's say 230 knots we're doing now, say we want to get down to 180 knots, then that's an extra 5 nautical miles that we'd have to add on. So it would have started 35 nautical away from JLI instead of 30. So anyway, the rule of thumb is the difference in altitude, take that in thousands of feet, so that was 10 for us, multiply it by 3, and that's how many nautical miles you need, approximately. So 30 nautical for us, which means we start to descend pretty much at Seppi. That should bring us round to JLI, and that will bring us round onto profile. Yeah, running into a bit of turbulence here. Just need to keep your eye on things and make sure everything's going as planned. Distance down to JLI is 10 nautical, and we're almost at the target altitude, so everything has indeed gone to plan. We're going to be ahead of the game, basically, which is not a bad place to be. And the reason that we got there before JLI, we got down to our altitude before JLI, is because I backed off on the throttle. Well, you could say too much. I didn't need to back off on the throttle. We could have gone a bit quicker. But like I say, it's always best to err on the side of caution. And currently we're flying into a mountain, so this should be good. Hopefully it'll turn us onto our course before we actually get there. But according to the charts, 8,800 was fine. There we go. 8,800, it's now levelling out. Bit scary when you see yourself going towards a hill. Right, so after that, let's have a quick look at the chart while we've got a minute. If I can bring up the right page. So JLI, next one is Wattox. Wattox was programmed in to be 6,800. So we're going to wait for it to make this turn because I don't want to descend anymore while this is here. But once it engages the next waypoint to Wattox, in theory, you can turn VNAV mode on. But I don't know how well it works in the TBM. We can give it a try. What VNAV mode should do is follow those altitudes down through the various waypoints. It should aim to get Wattox at the next assigned altitude because we've got them all programmed in. It should follow it down. Whether it will or not is a different story, but we can certainly give it a bash. If it doesn't, we're going to have to just V-speed it down. So I'm just going to wait until we've activated the next turn. I'm going to keep the speeder about somewhere between 180 and 200 at this point, just so it makes this turn. I'm going to turn the half bank mode off now because I want it to make the sharp turn. Most aircraft would have started turning by now. The avionics on this are a bit weird at the moment. It overshoots. You see, it should really follow that curve, but it kind of overshoots and goes direct, and then it does a sharp turn to the right. It's a bit odd. But you'll see it when that leg goes pink, it'll suddenly do a hard right turn. There you go. And you can see it's already going to overshoot its profile, most likely. It's that pink line there. It'll probably smash through that and then keep turning and try to rejoin it. Let's activate VNAV and we'll see what it does. I'm not convinced, but in theory it should start following the descent down, but I don't think it will. It's certainly not descending at the moment, so maybe that doesn't work. We'll just arm the V-speed mode then, and then we'll V-speed and we'll descend down. Actually, maybe it didn't do it because I didn't activate. Didn't set the altitude for it. No, it's not descending. Okay, V-speed then, we'll do it that way. So our next assigned altitude is Wattox, which we need to be at 6,800. So we'll put that on 6,800. Just going to back off on the throttle a little bit. We're looking for 180 to 200. I don't want to go over 200 at this point. Also, I'm going to zoom in slightly so we can see what's going on. So I want to be at 6,800 at Wattox. That looks fine. And you can see all the hills around here. You can see why it's so very important to look at the charts and follow procedures like this, because they're worked out to make sure you don't kill yourself. So Simbi is 4,400. That's the next waypoint we're looking at. That is our initial fix for our track in. We should all be on a continuous descent at this point at 3 degrees. So Simbi is what we're looking for, 4,800. We need to get to Wattox first. Now you notice that Wattox was just an altitude to descend to. It's not a hard altitude. This one, Simbi, is. It's got a line underneath, which means you must not be below 4,400 at Simbi. Okay, we're approaching Wattox. You can see how far you are to the next waypoint here, 2.4 nautical miles, and also up here it'll tell you ETE, so that's 40 seconds before we get there. It gives you an estimate, a bearing and a distance to the next waypoint. The trick really here is to just be ahead of the aircraft, don't get behind it. Like, anticipate what you need to do next. Okay, so now it's activated the Simbi leg, and Simbi was 4,400, so we'll set the new target altitude to 4,400. We'll go, should I VNAV again? No, I'll just turn it off. It clearly isn't doing what it should do. Okay, let's see. So ETE 2 minutes and 49 nautical miles. So when we get to Simbi, that's when we need to start thinking about slowing ourselves down, because Simbi, according to the charts, if you look at the bottom of here, it gives you basically a distance in nautical miles. So 3 nautical miles to here, 3.5 to Sinus, that's 7. So Simbi's probably, it doesn't actually tell you on this chart, but Simbi's probably about 11 nautical away, something like that. Interestingly, there's a glide slope indicator coming in the G. I don't know if it's actually going to work or not. We'll see if it moves. Sometimes it just sits down there. But yeah, it's very, very hilly, this approach. If you was in thick, imagine this, right? Imagine the cloud base was like 2,000 feet right now. So overcast, 2,000 feet. You wouldn't be able to see the ground right now. This whole area would be covered in cloud. And if you wasn't flying this kind of procedure, you could very well fly into a hill. So remember, it's not below 4,400. And then after Simbi, we're going to carry on descending. 3,200 can't be below Uyoka. So that will be the next target. The airfield, a right turn, so the airfield's going to be to our right there somewhere. Oh, there it is. See it? So we're going to get over these hills, and there is right there. You can see the approach lights, which is good. 4,400's coming up. Nice. And then Uyoka was 3,200. So we'll set the new target, 3,200. And I'm going to start slowing down now. Go V-speed again. Keep the percent going. Now, pay attention to the course line here. It says 243. The course into here, it says, is 243 there, you see? 243, that's the bearing that you need to be on for the runway, and it has got 243, so that's going to be what it's looking for. I've set 3200 because that was the minimum that we're allowed to fly down at a Yoka. So my advice is to let the autopilot do the work at this stage. You could literally take over right now and hand fly it. I'm trying to get my camera vertical position. Oh, it's always too high or too low. There we go. Just let the autopilot do the work for now. It'll do all the trim and stuff, keep you on profile. We should really be descending at about 1,000. Okay, so this 3,200. Past a Yoka, so we can go down to 2,600. V-speed. But yeah, we're looking good at this point. You know, strictly speaking, we could bring the altitude down to minimum. Is the minimum on this chart? Minimum is MDA 605. So at this point, we could bring that down to 600. We're going to cancel the autopilot before then anyway. But we're on a nice glide slope. I'm going to bring the power right back now because I want to get into flaps and gear range now. So what we'll do is we shall get the gear out. That'll give us some drag. It's a slippery plane, the TBM. Very slippery. So when you want to slow down, it doesn't want to slow down, basically. As you can see, like, I am on minimum throttle right now. I'm just going to pitch the nose up slightly. Because what I want to do is I want to bring the airspeed down so I can deploy the flaps, so we'll basically flatten it out. Let the airspeed come back. And then deploy the flaps, which will bring the nose down. Put a little bit more power in. And this AP here, that was our approach speed reference, if you remember. So we'll let the trim settle down, bring the power back up. And now I will disengage the autopilot. That just means to make sure that your speed is good. Remember, this is a non-precision approach, so unlike the ILS, you don't have to be quite so exact with your vertical altitude, except you need to follow those minimums. Okay, we're looking set up. So at this point, we need to do our landing checklist. So the inertial separator is going on. Landing gear is down 3 green, flaps are in full, landing lights are on. What we'd do is bug the heading just in case we need to go around, and at this point you would set your, if you looked at the chart, you would set your missed approach altitude, which I didn't look at. For now, just keep your eye on your speed and your approach angle. And the TBM loves to ding. That's all I can say. It loves to ding. Now, if you look at the compass rose, the just between that and the speed is the wind, and we've got 2 or 3 knot headwind, which is absolutely fine. Good so far. Gonna fly almost to the ground and then back off as we flare out. Just holding off slightly, and the TBM will just glide itself down nicely. It loves to fly, this plane. It really does. So now what you can do is you can quickly zoom that in and give you a rather nice view where you should depart. So I'll assume we've got clearance and we'll go this way. Welcome to Mirimar. Okay, landing lights off, taxi light on, now's the strobes are coming off. And we'll taxi ourselves over there. So I hope you found something useful and all that. Sky Vector, SimBrief, very useful websites. AirNav is good as well. All of them free. Things like Navigraph just kind of tie things together for you, give you one place to look at all your charts. They also tend to give you more detailed charts as well than the free ones. But obviously, you know, Navigraph is a paid-for item, so it's up to you what you want to go with. But there are still ways around it completely for free. And yeah, flying these kind of, you know, instrument approaches is pretty fun. Pull up over here next to this other TBM. Although I think mine's got a better paint job than his. And it dings again. Right, so as soon as you activate the parking brake, it activates FS Economy. So we'll close that. And if we quickly go back to my flight, you will see that those passengers have been removed from here. If I go to my logs, you'll see Sakata, KONT to KNKX, view, and basically I earned $2,200, of which $829 went to Earth Squirrel, and $1,400 went into my bank account. So on the next flight, what we'll do is we'll do the exact opposite, but we'll take these 6 people, and we'll fly back, and you'll see that the flight plan will be quite different. Anyway, that's it. This is long enough for this video. Hope you found it useful. Please give me a thumbs up if you did. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel. Take care, guys. Happy flying.